We all know that Twitter has had a very long history of bending over whenever governments asked them to remove certain content from the website. That was something that happened all the time under Jack. I mean, it even got so bad where allegedly, I'm going to put a big allegedly here, the Twitter offices based in Saudi Arabia were handing over metadata of particular journalists and dissidents to the Saudi royal government, and allegedly some of those people were then arrested and executed. So Twitter, I don't know, not maybe not Twitter directly, but definitely its offices in the Middle East kind of killed people, allegedly. Allegedly. So this is something they have been doing, and it has happened a few times under Elon Musk as well. He's definitely not perfect with it, because what happens is they'll just say, oh, well, then you won't be allowed to operate in this country. That makes Twitter panic, that makes the investors and the shit, well, there's no shareholders anymore, but that makes advertisers, etc., all panic, because that can drastically reduce the income that the website can make. So it's a huge effect. I mean, especially with a country like India, you know, an eighth of the planet. So yeah, I can understand why they're very concerned about it. But Karnataka High Court's Twitter verdict sparks debate on free speech. In July 2022, Twitter took the Indian government to court over its order to block certain accounts and tweets. Several free speech experts hailed it as a significant lawsuit. It was the first instance of a social media company suing the government over its content takedown orders, often criticised for being arbitrary and opaque. Last week, the Karnataka High Court dismissed Twitter's case and imposed a fine of 5 million rupees, so that's $61,000, on the company for not complying with the contested orders for over a year. Twitter has more than 24 million users in India by one estimate, and considering the population of India, that's quite fucking small. The verdict has left many digital rights experts worried. The judgment reposes untrammeled power in the state to issue blocking orders that bypass procedural safeguards, said Ritika Roy, a lawyer and spokesperson for digital rights organisation Internet Freedom Foundation. I know those guys. The IFF, they are quite good. You should follow them on Twitter. They've got their eye on the ball with a lot of things. She added that the court could have countered the rampant misuse of law to take down unfavourable content on the internet. Rather, it has ended up legitimising it. Commentators are apprehensive about Twitter's next move. Will the social media giant comply with the takedown orders or appeal the judgment? You're not going to get a fair hearing in an Indian court. And unfortunately, because it's India that's doing it, you're going to have to go to an Indian court. You can't do it in America or Britain or anything like that. The case was filed by Twitter under its previous leadership under new owner Elon Musk. The company has complied with takedown orders. Like I said, governments are saying remove this, remove that. I mean, the exact same thing happened with the PA guys, Patriotic Alternative. All of them, all the big wigs in them, all on the same day. And that was basically, they've not said why, but let's be honest, the British government. It was the British government told them to take it down. They did the same thing with red elephants and all that as well. After a recent meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the US, Mr. Musk said that the company has no choice but to obey local government laws or it risks getting shut. The recent judgment raises concerns about free speech since the government has been accused of increasing its censorship of online content in recent years. Federal Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar, did I do that right? I don't care, really. Has said that all foreign internet platforms had to comply with Indian laws. In 2022, India blocked 3,417 Twitter URLs, while only 8 Twitter URLs had been blocked in 2014. And this is a case of governments over time, this is the whole liberal democracy. It's getting to its inevitable end result where people will vote themselves into authoritarianism, because what the government likes to do is create a problem, make you very scared of the problem. The government then offers the solution to the problem that it caused, and the solution is always give the government more power. And every 4 years, people will vote and vote and vote. We get less and less and less freedom until eventually we get into authoritarianism. Because a lot of people don't really understand that liberal democracy has only been around for about 100 years. Well, okay, not been around for 100 years, but actually being widely adopted only for the last 100 years, after post-World War One. Right, and this was a relatively new thing. Everyone thought, oh, this will protect us from fascism and authoritarianism, and we'll be able to vote and change the leader and get rid of the leader and stuff like that. There won't be any nepotism. Oh, Jesus, how naive we were. Like, because it turns out that we're actually getting less and less and less free as time goes on. We keep voting ourselves further into authoritarianism, which leads many people to believe that the state, regardless of its form, always has one final end result. Doesn't matter what kind of state you start with, it always has a final end result. This is something that I have learned over the past few years. There's a very fucking fantastic book by a man called Hans Hermann Hoppe. It's called Democracy, the God That Failed. You should read it. You can even download, see if you go onto the Mises Institute or the Mises Caucus website, you can actually download the PDF and read it for free. Because for some reason, just single copies of buying the actual book, goddamn, they're expensive, Hopper, but then again, you are a capitalist. Twitter's case was that 39 orders of the federal government to block access to accounts and tweets went against the law, and India's information technology allows the government to block online content that threatens the security of the state and public order, among other things. And pretty much all governments have that, by the way. Britain has it, America has it. There's loads and loads of places that actually have that, where it's like, oh yeah, you have free speech, but... You know, that old chestnut. It said that the government does not have the power to block accounts, but only specific tweets. Further, it said that the orders had not been properly reasoned and that the grounds required for taking down the content had not been made out by the government. So they just basically says, remove that, and then Twitter went, why? And then the government didn't explain. Also, users whose accounts and tweets were being blocked had not been informed by the government. The government argued that the orders were legal. Of course it's legal. We're the government. We make the laws. It said that the contested content was posted by anti-India campaigners and that if such users were informed about the action being taken against them, they may choose to tweet anonymously and cause more harm. Isn't that? Well, yeah. I would always advise everybody to VPN up. A trusted VPN. Therefore, it was appropriate that only Twitter was informed about these orders, the government said. Since the law requires these orders to be confidential, it is not clear which accounts and tweets were challenged. However, one instance cited in the judgment reveals that at least one account had posted tweets related to the farmers' protest in 2021 against new farm laws that were brought in by the government. Anti-India campaigners, or those cheeky ones against the state, we can't have that. We can't have people saying bad things about the government. It makes the government feel bad. You need to consider the government's feelings. The court has now said that the government has the power to block not just tweets, but entire accounts as well. These orders could extend indefinitely. It also added that when the government is blocking content, the user does not necessarily have to be informed. Under the law, Twitter informs you, by the way. Twitter actually informed me of a takedown notice from the police. Because I was shitposting underneath. I didn't do anything wrong in any way, right? I'm very, as someone who is quite well versed in Section 127 of the Communications Act of 2003, I know where the line is. I know where the line is now, and I'm very, very careful. And I was shitting up underneath the police. They tweeted some, you know, we're watching you, Big Brother is stupid. We just arrested this woman because she called someone the C word on Twitter. We ignored 8 rapes last week. Like, they were doing all that usual stuff. And I was shitposting under their tweets. And they sent a takedown notice to Twitter. They sent a takedown notice to Twitter to remove my tweets, and Twitter actually told me, we've received notice of blah, blah, blah. And they didn't say which tweet specifically. This was years ago, by the way. They didn't say which tweet specifically. They just says, we have received this notice. And I went, absolutely smashing. That's fine. Forgetting that I have, like, literally a whole legal team. So I sent them a text, and they sent, basically, what's it called? It's a special form. In America, they call it discovery or whatever, because basically the lawyers went, okay, this could possibly go to a legal civil action, so we would like to request the officer's name that submitted this request. We would like to request the specific tweets. We would like to request blah, blah, blah. My lawyer basically went, oh, you're going to be doing paperwork, boys, and requested all that stuff. The order was removed immediately. Because it seems that whoever was running the Twitter account of that specific police station got a little bit salty, and he decided to try and pull some shady shit, and as soon as I challenged it, they went, oh shit, and backed off. Literally, by the way, there was no racism or threats or anything like that. I was literally just under the tweet going, you're stupid authoritarian bastards. It was stuff along those lines, and posting like Big Brother memes and shit like that. And the police tried to come after me for that. I change my name on Twitter all the time, so maybe they went, count, him again. No, remember what happened last time. Imagine if that's how the police thought about me. I'm just going to run through the street shouting the N-word. There's nothing you can do. I have risen above you. For in the land of the anti-free speech, the man who can say the N-word is king. Anyway, let's continue. In cases of emergency, the government can immediately block a website and give notice later. The orders also need to have details in writing about why a website needs to be blocked. Twitter argued that this was missing in the orders the government had passed. However, the court looked at the tweets and accounts in contention and found they had outrageous, treacherous, and anti-national content which could threaten national security and public order. It said that these details had been shared with Twitter. Now, this is the problem when the government controls the courts. Like, everyone goes, we will go to the courts. We're fighting the government, and we are going to go to the courts. The courts are the government. They are the government. Like, they work for the government. That's the problem when the government has the monopolization on all decision-making, even in those decisions involving its own interests. It will always rule in its own favour. If it controls the decisions, all of the decisions will go in its own favour. Literally anybody that's in any position of authority would do the same thing. You know, if you're in charge of the fridge, right, there's a big fucking chocolate cake, but for the 30 other people, will you share the chocolate cake with the 30? No, I'm just going to rule that that's my fucking cake. That's mine. The other people can fuck off because I'm the one making the decisions, right? It's just that you're always going to rule in your own favour. Everybody has that bias. They're always going to go for what benefits them personally. The government is absolutely no different because it's made up of people who are human and have all of the human flaws. However, the court looked at it. I've just read that, and that's the problem. Is whenever you say anything against the government, and then you go to the courts who are the government, they're going to say, well, you were saying things against the government. But, like, I don't know why we still bother with the courts. I'm not going to Fed post. Further, the court accepted the government's arguments that detailed reasons. The court accepted the government's arguments. Well, the court would that detailed reasons had been shared with Twitter in review meetings that had taken place before the blocking order was passed. The court also says that giving notice to users was discretionary. The users in question comprised of terrorists and foreign adversaries who intend to discredit and destabilise India and jeopardise national security on communal lines. Man, is your society really that weak that some tweets could cause like this massive giant uprising? Sounds like society might be the problem. Thus, it accepted the government's argument that it was not desirable to issue notice to such anti-India campaigners. End of the road. Experts say that this judgment limits users' ability to defend their right to freedom of speech. Users won't be given a chance to defend themselves before a blocking order is passed, said Sachin Dhawan, a program manager at digital rights research body Centre for Communication Governance. Even after an order is passed, they will be left in the dark about why their content has been blocked, he added. As a result, a process which was already shrouded in secrecy will become even more opaque, he said. Mr. Dhawan added that this undermined basic due processes such as giving a notice and a hearing to an aggrieved party. The government doesn't care about stuff like that. However, another significant case pending before the Delhi High Court may lead to a different outcome. It relates to a satirical dowry calculator website being blocked by the government without the website's founder being given notice. In May last year, the High Court directed the government to provide the founder a copy of the order and give him a hearing, during which the ban was upheld. The court is now hearing whether the website can be blocked. The court's order to provide a copy to the founder inspires hope, Miss Roy from Internet Freedom Foundation said. However, the final verdict is yet to be decided. And even though it was clearly done like as a joke, the guy's just doing it as a laugh, it's the government, they're going to rule against it anyway, because India are very, very, very authoritarian whenever it comes to speech. And governments usually know that the people hate us. Like, that's the way it works. Like, the reason the speech comes in is the government goes, we're doing a lot of awful shit. People keep pointing it out. It's making the people start to hate us. We're starting to get really, really worried, because as soon as they realise apes together strong, we're in a lot of fucking trouble, right? So if we could stop them from saying that stuff to each other, that'd be just great. That'd be smashing. That'd be wonderful. So that's why the government hates speech. It's terrified of it because it's worried about people communicating and banding together and getting rid of the government. That's what it all boils down to. Basically, whenever a government starts passing speech laws, it's because it's scared.